All right. Routine launch. Everything's looking good. Shit. Hello there. As you can see, I'm just doing some routine oceanic research, and definitely did not wind up here by accident. If you're new, this is Out of the Cradle, my IVA-only challenge career playthrough series. Thought mods and hard mode difficulty weren't enough to keep things interesting, so I added some rules to adhere to as well. I'm restricted to the first-person IVA view only, can't use maneuver nodes, and can't use the map view while actively maneuvering. These last two were a real thorn in my side this episode, and led to my developing maneuver nodes from scratch in KOS. If that sounds interesting to you, hop over to the corresponding episode of Kradle Explained, where I get into that in detail. Luckily for me, I'm such a great pilot that I was able to take off in spite of this little water landing, and go about collecting some more science on the way. In typical Out of the Cradle fashion, I pushed my plane too hard, ran out of gas, and got lucky that I could glide it into a safe landing. With all the good science dividends from last episode, we've been able to invest in an important technology: parachutes. Now, instead of heartlessly lobbing every vehicle into the ground or ocean when we're done with them, we can actually recover them safely. Because of how hard Kerbalism makes for it to transmit science, this will aid our progression through the tech tree at an even faster rate. Meanwhile, we've been sending our pilots further yet from the KSC to discover new biomes and new airfields. Here we can refuel and resupply, extending the range of our planes even further. In the meantime, I'm making strides writing KOS software, using the attitude control testbed that I launched last episode as a way to test programmatically pointing spacecraft. This is of course one small building block on the way to implementing maneuver nodes later down the road. But as you can see, this hasn't been without difficulty, and in fact, I've come to make a major mistake. Somehow we've gotten so unlucky that the spacecraft's single solar panel appears to be constantly pointed away from the sun. And at the time of recording this, power has yet to return to our poor marooned spacecraft. But nevertheless, we press on, and with the newfound capability of reaching orbit, like any good capitalist, the first thing we do is start accepting contracts to make money for doing that. And of course, we do the same in our airplanes, accepting various part testing contracts to even further buff out our bank account. Sporting a new and improved design, we set out for the first of many orbit contracts, and in the process strive to build out a network of relays. Since we're without ground stations, and Kerbalism makes transmitting even harder, this is going to be an essential piece of infrastructure for progressing past low Kerbin orbit. Even now, it's a struggle to maintain connectivity to our probes, and hopefully as we build out this network, that will become less and less of an issue. You can also see in the background me showing off some of the software that I've written to enable my first-person-only orbital navigation. I have a program here that scans two orbits and finds, in terms of true anomaly, where their ascending and descending nodes meet, and where their apoapsis and periapses occur with respect to one another. This makes reaching a target orbit a much more straightforward process. You can still see, though, it's a little tedious, and I've yet to work out some errors in the system. Speaking of errors in the system, it looks like our second contractually obligated spacecraft is having one of its own right now. I later come to find that the engine has died, and so I guess it's not a total loss in that it still has a working antenna that it can use to relay signals, but of course it does not get the job done. And so, in short order, we'll send up another one, and... oh, okay. Another failure. Such is the struggle of playing with Kerbalism, in which the reliability of our parts inevitably gets a vote in whether any mission goes well or not. Having been exhausted by the struggle to push beyond low Kerbin orbit, we take flight in the Otter 1, hoping perhaps that we'll have better luck pushing past the KSC in pursuit of new biomes. In fact, we're going very far today. After I figured out that I could refuel aircraft at these outside airfields, I figured that we could make a bid for a journey to the Arctic. It's a bit of a challenge not looking at the map while I'm actually flying the aircraft, but of course with a bit of advanced preparation, we managed to find our way to all of our way stations and eventually to the Arctic. And as the sun sets, I decide to make a landing on this ice shelf, only to be harshly acquainted with the fact that the ground here is not solid at all, and that our plane more or less melts into it, destroying it and making it unflyable. Nice. But if there's one theme of this episode, it's that failure will not deter us, at least as long as we can afford to keep failing. Fortunately, that risky strategy pays off, and we in fact make it to the Arctic, avoiding landing on ice shelves, and instead settling for a nice solid airfield. And now safely parked, we begin the tedious process of collecting and transmitting data back home. Now, if there's plenty of financial incentive to set up a satellite relay, but it doesn't really whet the appetite for exploration the way something more exciting does. And so we set out for the moon. In addition to this orbit scanning program, I also have some routines that will get me the needed delta V to raise an apoapsis to a certain altitude, and of course I have the general purpose maneuver node program, which is the subject of Kradle Explained Episode 2, so go check that out if you want. I'm a much more interesting engineering explainer than I am gamer. Now I'm in the map view here, not because I want to confer an unfair advantage to myself, but because I want to show you more or less what my program is doing, and that it's actually the program flying and not me when I do this kind of thing. You can see here with the maneuver node program that it's printing out time till the maneuver, how much delta V it'll be, how long it'll take, and it's of course acting on that information and automatically flying a moonshot. I also got to do some interesting things to set this up. Obviously, without maneuver nodes, I can't really graphically depict an intercept with the moon, so I do a bit of math to figure out a good phase angle to transfer by, and then actually have a routine that predicts a phase angle between two bodies, and use that to set up when I'm going to maneuver. But like so many other things in this episode, this moonshot doesn't go to plan. And in fact, it's that damn engine again. But I'm not going to let this get our spirits down. So we'll try again for another moonshot. This time making a few modifications to the spacecraft, ensuring that we have good reliability. We do the same process over. Look at that. I mean, we have no way of really knowing for sure. I think the math checks out here. We should have a good intercept with the moon after this. And later on, it looks like we do. And of course, the thing we're most excited about, we're getting handsomely paid for having done this. It's also, of course, nice to get the science from having visited a new body. We'll use our existing programs to make a little correction here to get a little closer into the moon and explore the space low situation around it. The pace of technological progress around here is, of course, ceaseless, and we have officially entered the jet age here at Orbital Green Friend. And with this fun little airplane, we break a few speed and altitude records before taking it in for a nice landing. I'm not able to push this as hard as I would like, and so conclude this mission just a bit disappointed. With the introduction of jets, we of course bring about a different kind of aircraft, one with a bit more of a pragmatic, if unexciting, purpose in mind. That's right, we're going to be flying passengers. The Kerbin Airlines contracts from giving aircraft a purpose are big bucks, very lucrative, and so I figure this will be a good way to line our pockets as we keep trying to grow our space program. And as a happy accident, it turns out that our airliner is perfectly capable of breaking the speed record that our sleek and shiny first jet could not. How about that? I like having a positive surprise for a change. Our rockets, too, are also getting better. This one in a wider diameter and relies purely upon liquid fuel for propulsion. Very exciting. With its increased launch payload, we're setting out to accomplish a long-standing goal, and that's to build an actual dedicated relay constellation. This architecture is going to be set up to have 4 relays, all in 90 degrees phase with each other, with the idea being that they should be able to provide constant coverage in low Kerbin orbit. With some back-of-the-napkin math and KOS predicting phase angles between vehicles, I'm able to set this up to a reasonable degree of precision. A second launch gets the last 2 birds into orbit, and shortly after, we're all set up. On the ground, we're able to use our people mover aircraft to start bringing in the big bucks. I don't really have anything exciting to say about this, except that it makes a lot of money. And who doesn't love money? It's time we put our expanded launch capabilities to a more exciting use than just launching comms relays. And so we set off once again to enter a contractually obligated orbit around the moon, netting us even more prestige and money for our fledgling space program. And because we can, we stretch out our reach even further, setting up a flyby of distant Minmus, netting ourselves even more science money and prestige. I think it's a good place to leave out on this episode, so thanks for watching.